Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Joe Pollizi, President of the DECUS U.S. Chapter.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. Good morning, and welcome to Anaheim 96. I bid a special welcome to our many friends who are watching this session through Digital's video network and the M-Bone. My name is Joe Pollizi, and I am an engineering division manager with the Space Telescope Science Institute and the president of the DECUS U.S. chapter. This is truly an historic moment. Today, we officially celebrate the 35th anniversary of the founding of DECUS, the Digital Equipment Computer Users Society. From a group of colleagues and friends that first gathered 35 years ago to swap code and share ideas, rose this organization dedicated to information exchange and service to its membership. In addition to its years of service, we also celebrate 35 years of volunteering. As it was founded and is still today, DECUS is a volunteer-run organization. Our many speakers, those that help out in our campgrounds and interactive session areas, those who moderate and run our electronic forums, and those that put this program together with our small dedicated staff, all volunteered their time and energy in service to the chapter and to you. To that end, I'd like to make a special acknowledgement now to Linnell Kohler and her Anaheim 96 program team. And if I may ask them to stand up when I call their name. Linnell, Steve Arnold, Gloria Caputo, Mark Clancy, Clay Denton, Marilyn Fidel, Sam Kimmery, Paul Lambert, Paula Morin, Judy Mulvey, Barb Nicholson, and Jim Rehill. Thank you, Linnell and program team. We also celebrate 35 years of a special partnership with Digital Equipment Corporation. Long before the term strategic alliance became a buzzword of the day, DECUS and Digital enjoyed a special relationship of mutual support and a desire to help each other succeed. I'm happy to report that this relationship is as strong as ever. Digital shows its commitment by the establishment of the corporate DECUS program office under Nancy Strecker and the involvement of its senior management team and its many engineering representatives in our conferences and various activities. We should also note that this anniversary is being celebrated worldwide throughout the 23 chapters that make up the global DECUS. And we likewise join with our sister chapters and Digital in recognizing the 30th anniversary of the first DECUS Europe Symposium, which was celebrated last month in Barcelona, Spain. For a volunteer-based user society to last 35 years in this industry is a remarkable accomplishment. When you consider all we have done, the years of service to our members, our enduring relationship with Digital, and our worldwide reach, we are rightfully proud of celebrating this milestone. But while it is appropriate that we take some time to enjoy this moment, we dare not do so for too long. The rapid rate of change and advancement in our industry continues to accelerate and shows little compassion for those that linger in the past. Change is evident in everything we do, in how we work, and in how we relate to our traditional business partners. We have dramatically changed from using sole source, monolithic, and proprietary systems to multidimensional solutions from tiers of partners based on open platforms. Consider Digital, which has changed its focus from a one system, one architecture, one solution approach to a strategy that is multifaceted, based on 64-bit open computing, and aligns with multiple partners in bringing a solution to their customer. Just as Digital has changed, so too have we. DECUS has embarked on an aggressive plan of refocusing our conference and our other offerings to a broader segment that embraces not only OpenVMS, but Unix and Windows NT as well. These offerings are more technically based and specifically developed with you, our audience, in mind. Sessions are now more crafted than simply selected and are focused on state-of-the-practice and state-of-the-art technologies and solutions that you have identified as being the most critical to your success. Just as Digital seeks to strengthen its solutions and for its customers by aligning with strategic partners, so too is DECUS now engaging with Digital's partners and involving them in the content and other activities of the chapter. For all that has changed in the chapter, at our core, there's still much that is the same. We are still a volunteer-based society, founded on the principles of information sharing and service to each other. But a volunteer society can only remain so if there are volunteers to see it through. In this era of the information explosion and with the incredible pressures of shrinking margins and increased competition, many in our industry have strictly become consumers. Fewer are willing to contribute as a volunteer. Yet we have a consistent request from our membership to have more end-user sessions and panels to learn of the actual examples of how the newer technologies can be realistically applied. So with all the various electronic information resources that are now available, and which are indeed truly powerful communicating tools, these resources alone do not replace our need for dialogue and interaction with each other as we learn about these newest technologies. So my challenge to you is straightforward. Each of you has an experience or question that can benefit another. Learn to share that experience or to ask that question. Consider becoming more involved in our volunteer activities, whether it is at a local level in our local user groups, or in joining or forming a special interest group. Participate in our electronic forums or help at our events, such as this conference. There are many easy ways of volunteering, and I make a special request to those of you who might consider giving sessions or seminars. It is only by the involvement and support of our volunteers, past, present, and to come, and with this ongoing partnership with digital and others, that DECUS may truly savor its accomplishment of 35 years and look forward to the next 35 years. Thank you. It is now my pleasure to introduce our keynote speakers. To make this historic event even more special, we have two of the giants of our industry, Robert Palmer and William Gates, soon to be addressing you. Robert Palmer is one of the most highly respected CEOs in the computer industry. Bob joined Digital in 1985 as vice president and contributed significantly to the growth and success of Digital's semiconductor business. He took on responsibility for Digital's manufacturing, logistics, and component engineering in early '92, and late in '92 he became president. As Digital's president, chief executive officer, and more recently as chairman of the board of directors, Bob has been the architect of Digital's strategic direction. Among these areas of focus are the move to open systems, the formation of major business partner alliances with Microsoft, Oracle, Computer Associates, and MCI. Please join me in welcoming a fellow DECUS member, Robert B. Palmer.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. Thank you and good morning. I'm pleased to be with you today and to help kick off this 35th anniversary meeting of the United States chapter of DECUS. You know, a lot has changed in the world of information technology in the last 35 years, but for Digital, one of the most important constants has been DECUS. I'm delighted to have this opportunity to recognize the contribution that you have made to our success, and to thank you personally for your loyalty and support over the years. You're customers, but in many respects, you're also part of Digital's extended family. You have collectively made a significant investment in Digital's products, services, and technology, and you have an important stake in our future. We want to be part of your future, a partner in providing the information technology solutions from OpenVMS to the internet that will help make your business or your organization more successful. Now, as you know, we have a special guest with us today, Bill Gates, Chairman and Chief Executive Officer of Microsoft. I should point out, however, that Bill is more than a guest. He's a longtime Digital user and customer whose first real experience with a computer in high school was with a Digital PDP-10. So Bill, welcome, and we look forward to hearing from you in just a few minutes. What I'd like to do this morning is give you an update on Digital and our strategy for growth. First, I'll put our financial performance into perspective for you. Then I'll discuss the key elements of our corporate strategy, the information technology solutions that we're delivering to you, and the importance of our alliance with Microsoft. When you've heard the full story, I hope that you'll agree that although we still have work to do, Digital can provide outstanding value as your information technology partner. Well, as you know, and as Joe just said, Digital is a company that's in the process of transforming itself from designing and delivering the proprietary systems that made us successful in the 1980s, to a business model that's based on open systems, strategic alliances, and a renewed focus on delivering networked solutions for commercial and technical computing. And I'm pleased to report that we're making solid progress. Our revenues in fiscal 1996 were the highest in our history. And excluding restructuring charges, we improved profitability by more than $1 billion during the past 2 years. And we significantly strengthened our balance sheet. Most important, we continued to introduce leadership products and services, build alliances with best-in-class companies, and establish a strategy that's focused on solutions for the 21st century. We still have some restructuring to complete, but we've got about 90% of it behind us. And we are determined to do whatever it takes to help make our customers and partners more competitive. Now, our mission is very straightforward: to deliver networked business solutions based on high-performance platforms and services. It's a mission that speaks to what we do best, which is networked computing, and to the people that we know best, commercial and technical customers. It also underscores the role of our key partners, particularly alliances like Microsoft, who are absolutely critical to our success. We are, of course, continuing to invest in OpenVMS by adding 64-bit addressing capability, among other things. And we're gaining new OpenVMS customers for mission-critical applications requiring high availability and disaster tolerance capabilities. But in addition to our ongoing investment in OpenVMS, we have structured digital to deliver 3 emerging platforms for our customers: high-performance 64-bit Unix, Windows NT throughout the enterprise, and Internet within and between enterprises. Now, we first outlined this strategy for you about a year ago, and it continues to drive our investments and our business plans, and to define the value that digital provides to you. During the past year, we've sharpened our focus on implementing this strategy in the marketplace. We have identified 9 targeted market segments where we see opportunities to achieve significant market share and to achieve substantial growth and profitability. Now, clearly, these do not represent all of the businesses we're in, but they do represent our key go-to-market initiatives. They're markets where we have the core products and services, as well as the partnerships to deliver networked solutions. You'll notice they're not technology-driven initiatives, they're solution-driven. They build on our strengths across our business units, and they leverage multiple technologies and services. Now, I'm not going to talk about each one of these 9, but I do want to talk about our 3 growth platforms and some of the industrial strength solutions that we're delivering to you today. Digital has been delivering 64-bit platforms for more than 3 years, but it was really our introduction of 64-bit very large memory database technology, or VLM64, about 18 months ago that clearly established the power of 64-bit computing. We demonstrated absolutely breakthrough levels of performance using Digital's Alpha Server 8000 systems, 64-bit digital Unix, and 64-bit database software. The real significance to our customers was the availability of a new class of scalable, high-performance solutions. Solutions that enable you to turn information into a competitive advantage. Nowhere is that more apparent than in the area of data warehousing. I think, as everyone in this audience knows very well, companies and organizations today are simply awash in information. Just a year or 2 ago, we measured our largest databases in gigabytes. Today, it's terabytes, and within a few years, we'll probably be talking about databases measured in petabytes. The challenge is to turn all this raw material into knowledge, to get the right data to the right people at the right time, so that business decisions can be made based on fact, not intuition. Now, the best way to demonstrate its impact is by sharing an example of how this technology is helping customers solve real business problems. Rohr is one of the world's largest pharmaceutical corporations, and they needed a large database to provide up-to-date market, customer, and competitive information for their worldwide sales force. RPR has a database of about 600 gigabytes, and it's growing very rapidly. They wanted a system that was both fast and scalable, one that would allow them to deliver knowledge about doctors and the prescriptions that they write to their sales representatives faster than their competition. The solution that Ron Pollizi selected over competitors like IBM and Sequent was an Alpha Server 8400 running Digital Unix and Oracle 7. Managers receive monthly reports which present market and competitive information. The solution allows each user to customize the information that they see in as little as 30 seconds. Now, together with information about what prescriptions that each physician is actually writing and who pays for them, the data allows the sales representative to target their sales call and customize their proposals that address the actual needs of individual physicians. With the VLM64 solution, RPR is able to deliver this information to its sales representatives 30 days before its competitors are armed with similar data. That's right, 30 days. That's an amazing advantage in an industry that is changing as rapidly as healthcare today. RPR, together with digital and our partners, is setting the standard for performance in the pharmaceutical industry. Now, this is just one of the 200 data warehouse solutions that digital delivered to customers last year, many of them running Digital Unix, but a significant number also running 64-bit OpenVMS. And we look forward to running them on Windows NT in the not-too-distant future. But you do not have to be a company the size of RPR to enjoy the benefits of data warehousing and other high-performance applications. With the Alpha Server 4100 system, we brought very large memory database technology to the mid-range. Earlier this year, we also introduced the Unix True Cluster solution so that we can now deliver on a Unix cluster many of the same mission-critical capabilities that our OpenVMS customers have enjoyed for years. That is, the security of knowing that if one of your computers fails, the others in the cluster will pick up the slack. Let me now move to our second strategic growth platform, Windows NT. Digital made a strategic commitment to Windows NT several years ago. But more important, many of our customers and partners have followed us in making the same commitment. Companies see Windows NT as a logical extension of the Windows desktop, promising seamless integration between an emerging array of NT servers, Windows clients, and today's enterprise systems. We see NT as a critical component in building a bridge to the future of enterprise computing. For your NT implementation to succeed, you must be able to bridge back to existing enterprise systems like OpenVMS, to Unix applications and the desktop, and forward to the internet, to virtual computing environments, network appliances, and consumer electronics products. So our approach to this challenge is clear and simple. First, we established the Alliance for Enterprise Computing with Microsoft, giving Digital and Microsoft access to each other's technology. We are deploying 2,000 Microsoft-certified engineers around the world. We are tightly integrating OpenVMS with NT through our technology-based affinity program. We are also integrating Unix with NT through our All Connect program. We're increasing NT availability and manageability with clusters for Windows NT software, and we're delivering the widest range of Intel and Alpha-based NT platforms, from notebooks and personal workstations to servers that scale from small local area networks to multimedia internet services. Our alliance with Microsoft is more than a partnership. It is a broad, strategic relationship that encompasses joint marketing and selling, joint development, and significant product and service commitments to each other and to our customers. Through the alliance and our technology partnership on Windows NT, we are able to offer clear benefits to our customers. Last spring, for example, Bill Gates and I opened the first Enterprise Solutions Center for Windows NT near Microsoft's headquarters in Redmond, Washington. 2 months ago, a similar center opened in France, and Microsoft chose to build their executive briefing center in the same building. These solution centers allow customers who are deploying Windows NT and back-office solutions to collaborate with experts in areas ranging from networking and client-server systems management to internet, electronic commerce, and mail and messaging. Customers can run Windows-based applications in a typical multi-vendor computing environment, or they can build customized hardware and software environments to test the real-world scenarios for their business applications. No other facilities in the world offer this capability. Through our joint engineering and development projects, we're also delivering new levels of NT performance and scalability. Next week at Comdex, for example, Digital and Microsoft will demonstrate Windows NT running on our Alpha Server 8000 systems for the first time. We will showcase data warehousing and data mart applications running on NT and Microsoft SQL Server, which scale to new heights on Alpha. And when Microsoft delivers its 64-bit version of Windows NT for Alpha later next year, we will see even higher levels of performance and scalability. Digital and Microsoft engineers are working closely on 64-bit NT, which will run first on our Alpha systems. What makes this alliance so important is that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. We each bring significant and complementary strengths to the table, but it's the combination of these resources that creates real value added for you. Microsoft brings world-class client-server software with leadership market share throughout the world. And Digital brings high-performance systems and a leadership global service organization, including 24,000 service professionals deployed around the world. By working closely together, we enable you to implement business solutions on Windows and Windows NT, and to integrate those solutions into the most complex enterprise environments. You know, a really good example is the contract that Digital and Microsoft recently won to consolidate the enterprise mail systems at Lockheed Martin, a leading defense contractor. You know, like many other companies that have grown through acquisitions, Lockheed is trying to reduce the cost of managing and supporting several different messaging platforms. After considering several technical alternatives, Lockheed chose to standardize on Microsoft Exchange Server and Windows NT. Digital will provide the systems integration as well as the Alpha servers, the directory services, and messaging backbone. This solution will allow Lockheed to consolidate 800 messaging servers to 80. It will enable them to significantly reduce administrative costs, and it will speed message delivery. With 120,000 seats, this is the largest Microsoft Exchange implementation ever, and there are many other large opportunities under discussion around the world. You know, although it is clear that Windows NT will become one of the most important enterprise operating systems over the next few years, it's certain that many customers will have mixed environments, including Unix, OpenVMS, and other operating systems for many years to come. The challenge for customers implementing NT solutions is to make all of these systems work smoothly together within the enterprise. Now, Digital has an answer to this challenge, our new All Connect program. The All Connect program establishes interoperability between Windows NT and Unix, and Windows NT and OpenVMS, building on the success of our Affinity program. Through the All Connect program, we will provide the tools, the products, and the services necessary for customers to achieve high levels of interoperability. It will ensure that your investments in software and applications are protected, whether you're using Windows NT, Unix, or OpenVMS. Now, to give you an example of how this program is working, let me tell you about the New York Mercantile Exchange. As the world's third largest commodities exchange and the largest for petroleum products and precious metals, the New York Mercantile Exchange has two very fundamental requirements. First, a reliable 24 by 365 computing environment. Traders that move 500,000 barrels of oil in a single contract may lose their vital edge, not to mention millions of dollars, if transactions are delayed even for just a few minutes. And second, instant end-user response time, so the exchange can keep up with rapid changes in the trading markets. To meet this needs, they selected Alpha systems running OpenVMS and desktops running Windows NT as their emerging technology information standard. They moved their core trading and settlement applications from fault-tolerant tandem systems to disaster-tolerant clusters of Alpha Server 8400 systems running OpenVMS. The digital Microsoft solution includes real-time reporting to traders, replacing the daily reports that they once used. And another application running on Unix ensures that the traders are in compliance with the exchange and government regulations. All of the applications feed desktop clients that run Windows NT. And in fact, Digital and Microsoft have been selected for the most visible component of the Exchange's technology showcase, their new trading floor with over 1,100 digital PCs running NT. The Chief Information Officer of the Exchange, Alan Farias, was eager to endorse the Digital Microsoft Alliance. He said, and I quote, "To us, it means that Windows NT will gain an even tighter integration into Digital's platform strategy, and that Alpha will continue to be the best platform to run Windows NT," end quote. Clearly, Windows NT is winning broad acceptance as an enterprise operating system. But we believe NT will also provide a stable base for internet and intranet solutions. This view is supported by market research from Input, which projects that Windows NT will be the leading web server software by the year 2000. Input expects Windows NT to capture 43% of this market, compared to 29% for Unix. And what these numbers show is that both Windows NT and Unix will be important platforms for internet applications well into the future. That's why these systems are essential components of Digital's third strategic computing platform, the Internet. In his book, The Road Ahead, Bill Gates wrote the following, quote, "The popularity of the Internet is the most important single development in the world of computing since the IBM PC was introduced in 1981, end quote. I could not agree more. The Internet has the potential to dramatically change the world of enterprise computing. Internet technology is revolutionizing the workplace, allowing companies to link the desktop and the enterprise in ways that simply were not feasible before, to provide access to information that was not widely available in the past, and promising an environment where companies can connect with their customers, their partners, and their suppliers to create secure, virtual organizations. And we have only scratched the surface. Now, there are many opinions about this subject, but at Digital, we fundamentally believe that the Internet will become the work environment of choice, the foundation of the networked economy of the future. We still have some significant issues to resolve before the Internet is truly ready for large business, issues like bandwidth, better security, and reliable models for transacting commerce. But the basic elements are there now, and the industry is refining them every day. Of course, you're going to hear a lot of companies today tout their ability to help customers take advantage of the Internet. But there are very few companies that can deliver the Internet experience, the technology, services, and the partnerships that Digital has today. We have been closely involved with the Internet for more than 2 decades. We were the first computer company with an Internet domain, the first Fortune 500 company with a website, the first corporation to establish an Internet mail gateway, the first with an Internet firewall. We also built one of the first and largest private TCP/IP networks, and we are the first to provide an Internet exchange service capability. According to DataQuest, Digital today is number 2 in web server revenue. Companies like Microsoft, Oracle, and Lycos have selected Digital's Intel and Alpha-based servers to power websites that must be able to handle tens of millions of hits per day. Every Alpha server system we ship on every operating system that Digital supports is now equipped with the critical applications that customers need to quickly and easily set up websites. We're also one of the leaders in providing the high-performance switches and other network products that form the backbone of the Internet. Internet service providers like BBN Planet and the 3 largest network access providers rely on Digital's GigaSwitch. In fact, the web page that you see on your computer almost certainly came through one of our switches. Let me give you an example of how high-performance servers and network products, together with very clever software, can set new standards for Internet performance. Less than 1 year ago, Digital introduced the Alta Vista search engine. And it took us only a few weeks to establish that Alta Vista was the fastest and most comprehensive search service on the World Wide Web. It has a continuously updated index of 30 million web pages, as well as 4 million articles from 14,000 Usenet news groups. It's accessed more than 21 million times each weekday from around the world. Now, the reason we've been able to keep up with that kind of demand without a drop-off in performance is the scalability of the Alpha systems that run Alta Vista. I mean, we actually started with a mid-range server. We quickly had to move up to an Alpha Server 8400 system, and then had to implement a Unix true cluster solution which links multiple Alpha Server systems. But as a result, we've been able to sustain an average response time in under 1 second, despite explosive growth in hits from 300,000 a day in January to 21 million today. We're also establishing mirror sites around the world to further improve performance in geographies that are far from our Palo Alto Internet Center. And we're putting this technology to work for our customers by delivering Alta Vista search software products for the enterprise, for work groups, and even personal computers. With our Alta Vista family of internet software, we also provide an innovative portfolio of firewall, tunneling, and collaboration software that helps customers build secure virtual private networks. Digital is also working with customers to apply internet technology to the delivery of services. For example, in downloading fixes and patches, in delivering software products and upgrades, in remotely diagnosing hardware problems, and creating and integrating databases and support information. And our broad internet service capabilities and our alliances with companies like Microsoft and MCI, and Digital is able to deliver comprehensive solutions for the internet and intranets. Nowhere is that more evident than in our Internet Exchange. You know, this facility, which is based in Palo Alto, combines our Alpha servers, our Giga switches, and outsourcing services to provide the highest performance platform available to internet service providers and business customers. What I've tried to demonstrate to you today is that Digital is focused on meeting your information technology needs. Whether you're deploying Windows NT throughout the enterprise, OpenVMS, 64-bit Unix applications, or internet solutions. Our alliance with Microsoft underscores our commitment to provide you not only with the best of Digital, but the best from our partners as well. You know, strategy and alliances, though, can only take a company so far. The ultimate measure of any company's success is its ability to build partnerships with its customers, to establish relationships of mutual trust and confidence. You know, before I joined Digital, I was a customer of the company. And it was fairly easy for me to sign off on multi-million-dollar orders because I had confidence in the people behind the purchase order. And that's how I see Digital, not only as a company that delivers the fastest microprocessors or the coolest applications or the most sophisticated architectures, but as a company that you can trust to deliver on its promises of service and support. A company with industry-leading products and services in areas like 64-bit computing and networked business solutions. A company that is determined to provide the greatest value for you and to help you achieve greater business success through information technology. This is the spirit behind our strategy for success, and it is the spirit shared by the more than 55,000 men and women who stand behind the Digital name in the more than 100 countries in which we do business. I want to thank you once again for helping us celebrate this 35th anniversary of DECUS, and I hope that you have a very productive and enjoyable meeting. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's my pleasure now to ask the chairman of Microsoft, Mr. Bill Gates, to please join me up here on the stage. Bill?
Well, good morning. I want to spend most of the morning talking about the future and some of the things that Microsoft and digital are doing together to enable a bright future with information technology. But since we're here celebrating the 35th anniversary of DECUS, I thought I'd talk a tiny bit about my past with digital. As Bob said, I got into this business because of digital. In fact, what happened was a time-sharing company up in Seattle, where I was in 8th grade, it got a deal from digital that as long as they could find a certain number of problems in the TOPS 10 operating system that ran on the PDP-10, they could defer their lease payments on their computer. And so the people at this company thought, well, there's some kids out at this high school who've been begging to get computer time. We'll just let them come in here at night and bang around, and who knows, maybe like monkeys pounding on a typewriter, they'll come out with something fairly interesting. Well, that led to quite a series of fun things, including taking the source code listings out of the garbage cans and eventually becoming very sophisticated at finding weaknesses in TOPS 10. Fortunately, by the time digital insisted that this company make some payments, we'd proven our worth and were able to stick around and do a lot of development on the PDP-10. It was about 5 years later when Paul Allen and I started Microsoft and decided to write the basic interpreter for the very early microprocessor, the Intel 8008. And the way we did that is we went to the PDP-10 and we took Macro 10, the assembler, edited it to understand the mnemonics of the 8008. We took DDT-10, changed that so that we could do debugging, and we built a simulator on the PDP-10. And so for the first 5 years of Microsoft's history, when the microprocessors weren't fast enough to do native development, we did all of our work on that PDP-10. Throughout that time, we'd been using time sharing, but we finally got to buy our first digital computer and fought over who would be the official representative to DECUS, which I didn't succeed because people thought I was too busy. So officially, this is my first chance to be part of DECUS, and I'm glad to be here after 25 years of using digital equipment. Well, Microsoft and digital, I think, are the best example of two companies working together to combine their respective strengths. Microsoft is very focused on building software products, high-volume building blocks that people can use to build solutions. And Microsoft is not in the business of building the platforms, and we're not in the business of having a large field force that can do that integration. And so we're really drawing on the things that digital does well. Our enterprise partnership is both product-driven and service-driven. One of the commitments we have is to take NT as it's taking on more and more demanding tasks and really showcase how the Alpha platform allows us to get the highest performance. And digital has established up near our development team a group that's constantly working with us to drive the performance forward. In fact, if we look at our database performance over the last 2 years, we've gone up by more than a factor of 10 on official benchmarks. And a significant portion of that is the work we do together and really benchmarking things and making sure we're taking full advantage of what the hardware provides. This alliance is based on a realization that even as NT grows in popularity, there'll be a lot of heterogeneity out there. And so we've worked with digital on things like DCE standards, natively supporting the security protocols and the remote procedure calls. And now we're working closely with software developers under the All Connect program to make sure that as they move their products over to NT, they continue to coexist with the versions that they have on other systems. Now this partnership started several years ago, and it's built in momentum, it's built in the kind of cross-training that we do between the two companies. But it's also gained a lot of momentum from some of the incredible design wins that we have. Bob talked about the great success at Lockheed Martin, which is a pretty incredible mail system being put together there, and a really well thought through transition plan to allow them to move over to a very clean mail platform while every day continuing to have the systems and the connectivity be there. Another great example is the work we're doing together at the U.S. Postal Service. You'd think they'd be pretty demanding about delivery of mail. And sure enough, they wrote a requirement in that the mail, electronic mail, be delivered in under 5 minutes. And the solution that Digital and Microsoft built here actually is able to deliver the mail in under 1 minute. So some serious electronic competition for the U.S. Post Office as people use electronic mail more and more. Every one of the examples I have up here, and there are many more whose logos I couldn't fit on the slide, are using a variety of services. Things like putting Exchange in as a central mail system. Also desktop migration services, moving up from 16-bit Windows to Windows 95 and Windows NT, and managing the software assets of these companies, helping companies to inventory what they have, make sure that things are up to date and running very, very smoothly. And so our future success will build on the enterprise wins that we've had here and the satisfaction that those customers are sharing now with many, many others. It's wonderful to see how rapidly large companies are moving to view electronic mail and things like data warehousing as critical applications, things that really make a difference in terms of their competitiveness. And if you couple that together with their desire to present state-of-the-art presence on the internet, the opportunities for Microsoft and Digital are quite fantastic. One metric that we watch very closely is training. Our highest training designation is the Microsoft Certified Systems Engineer. And Digital has gone a lot further than anybody else, very quickly getting over 1,000 of their people trained at this architect level, that highest level. And that's more than double any other organization. And so that's something that has helped a lot as we're rolling these systems out. Well, the PC is really quite an incredible thing. The momentum that's developed as more and more softwares become available, as the processor technology is improved, is really quite fantastic. This calendar year, something over 70 million PCs will be sold worldwide, and that's up over 20% from last year. Now, at 70 million units a year, it's amazing that the market continues to grow at all, but it will grow fairly healthily next year, somewhere around 15%. And these PCs are being used in an incredible variety of ways. Productivity applications are a very big thing. Communications is now becoming a central application, and they really are the window onto the world of information. The quality of development tools that run against the PC has been a key element in pushing this forward. Today, nobody talks about a big software backlog simply to get at information. Now we're empowering people sitting at a PC not only to see the information in electronic form, but also to comment on it, to look at it in different ways, and to get involved in knowledge workers, having a more efficient impact on the things that go on in their company. As the PC software and hardware have gotten more powerful, now people are recognizing that the PC is not a low-end phenomena. They're seeing performance levels that allow them to take even their most demanding applications and use PC technology. And really what we're doing is blending the best of both worlds. The enterprise world used to be characterized by its exclusive use of multiprocessor systems and clustering systems and transaction software, and the PC was characterized by the breadth of applications and by the graphical interface. Well, the best solutions bring those two things together. And a great example of that is Windows NT running on the Alpha server. As Bob said, it's now our commitment to take Windows NT up to the very high end of the Alpha line. We've had a lot of customer interest in that, and that's going to be a fairly straightforward thing that we'll be showing at Comnex and talking about the schedule for that next week. These servers are being used in a wide array of functions, and we moved away from thinking of dedicated servers. It used to be people thought of a mail server as dedicated or a application server as dedicated. Now with the general purpose operating system, it's possible to put database, mail, web serving, any applications you want to run, including applications that have code up on the server, either procedure code from the database or script code to generate the web pages. All of those run very well on the server with excellent performance levels. And so this success loop of volume generating application support and application support generating more volume clearly is kicked into gear in a big way for Windows NT in the last year. Windows NT was first shipped into the market about 4 years ago. And as more and more pioneering customers adopted it, the momentum simply built and built to the point today where it's the most popular server operating system by more than a factor of 2. And that's comparing it even to Unix, taking all the flavors and putting those together. Well, the great development of the last couple of years is the internet. And it's very important that this has come along. The vision that the PC would be a communications tool was one that was talked about for ages and ages. And yet, somehow, electronic mail never really caught on as a way of communicating between companies. Inside a few companies, like Digital or Microsoft, where it was imposed, it was very valuable. But it was very low technology solutions like fax that came to dominate the ways companies would work with each other in the late 80s and early 90s. And it's only with the internet now that we can see that critical mass has been achieved, that we've got enough people hooked up that over the next decade, every business and every knowledge worker within those businesses will have an electronic mail address, and they'll use the web as part of their daily activity, not just for simple text messages, but for rich electronic forms, for documents, including spreadsheets and presentations. And the internet will be a collaboration medium. Already today, there's free software on the internet that lets you share what you're doing on your PC with someone else. So you can connect up and edit a contract together, work on a spreadsheet together. All of those things are very straightforward, and in a sense, make the world a smaller place, make people able to reach out to resources not only within their own company, but outside their company, whether it be vendors or customers who are connected up through the internet. The internet has taken a lot of debates that were going on in our business and really solved those debates. For example, for many, many years, there was a question about transport technology. NetBUI, XNS, incredible variety there. And now IP networking with the TCP IP stack is the clear direction that everyone should move in. That doesn't mean that systems need to be transitioned overnight, but today, through the use of gateways and over time in a native sense, all corporate networks will work in that fashion, and it'll be very, very easy to connect things together. In fact, many companies that have had dedicated lines tying all their machines together over time, as we solve some of the issues of guaranteed bandwidth availability, you'll be able to drop the dedicated lines and do what we call virtual private networking simply by having each of the machines hook up to the public internet and then use special protocols to make sure that the addressing and security essentially recreate what you would have had with those dedicated connections. It's fantastic to see the high level of investment that's going into the internet today. Almost any limitation you can name, something like authentication of who's connected up to the network. There are lots of large companies and new startup companies that have been formed to address those problems. And so it really reminds me of the original PC, where some people came in and said, look at this early PC. It's missing this and this and this and this. And what they didn't recognize was that all of those things were being worked on, and that critical mass meant that really an industry phenomena had developed that was quite unstoppable. And so despite the drawbacks of the internet today, despite the fact that it can't be used for everything yet, and there will be some traffic jams over time as the demand rises here, this is an incredible advance, probably more comparable to advances in communication technology, like the TV or the telephone, than even specific things that have gone on with computers. And the reason I say that is because of the breadth of its impact, where businesses that really never had to think of computing as anything but a back office activity will now have to rethink how it is that they reach out to organizations who they're selling to or who they're buying from. As the internet rolls out over time, one thing it's important to keep in mind is that the hardware innovation on the PC platform, whether it's server hardware or desktop hardware or portable machines, will continue to improve dramatically. Moore's law that talks about microprocessor performance clearly will hold up for more than a decade here. So whether it's the very high performance Alpha or Intel's best processors like their Pentium Pro, increasing clock rates will mean that performance will not be a limitation. In this area of performance, look at all the things that are going on. We get faster processors, we get better scaling in symmetric multiprocessor systems, we get clustering capability to let those machines work together, and we get software optimizations that are fairly profound. And so it's all four of those factors in combination that are allowing database benchmark records to be set almost on a monthly basis today, getting up into very, very high levels. Storage costs will continue to go down. Today it's almost impossible to buy a personal computer with less than a gigabyte of storage. Well, I'm sure many of us remember in our career, going into file systems and trying to clean up just to save a 1K file here or a 1K file there. And it seems very strange now that storage is sort of available. These are machines that you could type your entire life and not come close to filling up the disk. And as storage is going up by factors of 2, the portion of storage that represents computer code will become diminishingly small, because despite all the nice work that's gone on in the software world, there is no Moore's law that allows companies to turn out twice as much software every 2 years. Simply the testing of these complex systems alone mean that you see very modest type growth there, and so we're going to have all that storage available for rich data types, for multimedia, and very large databases. The drops in the price of RAM have been very important because we can now take the disk out of the equation in a lot of performance scenarios simply by using large amounts of RAM. One of the toughest problems is how we're going to get the bandwidth connecting all these machines that we want. Connecting up businesses and universities, well, that's not a huge problem because optic fiber speeds are going up so rapidly, and routing technology is improving right along with that. But when it comes to hooking up schools and homes, here we want to move beyond today's phone system. The phone connection, it looks like we'll be able to go up to 57.6K baud, which is a nice improvement, but still not enough for video type presentations. And that's where we get things like rich ISDN, ADSL, or PC cable modems, which are all very important. But if we look even 5 years out, we shouldn't expect to see more than, say, a quarter of homes connected up to these high-speed techniques. And so for a lot of the authoring that goes on the web, you're still going to have to confine yourself to people connected up at phone-based data rates. Another key advance that I'm looking forward to is very low-quality flat-screen technology. Even in companies like Microsoft or Digital, where electronic mail is part of the daily activity, very long documents you still most people don't read off the screen. For example, the Wall Street Journal. I read some articles on the screen, but typically the new issue I read off of paper. And that's really because of the issue of size and resolution, which there are many, many companies working on screen approaches that would allow us to have literally a desktop that was entirely covered by an excellent screen. And so that'll really switch how you think of browsing. And finally, you'll get some substitution effect where things that you used to do in paper, you're doing almost exclusively electronically. There's a number of challenges that we're facing in software innovation, richer integration. We've come a long ways here. People now, when you buy a PC, it's got everything you need to connect up to the internet. You don't have to go get a stack or a browser or the collaboration software. It's all there. But we've got to go a lot further to bring together the different ways that you browse information. If you look over somebody's shoulder today, they browse for a file, then they'll browse to find a message, then they'll browse to find a web page and see if that got updated. And they might then go into the help system and navigate around that. Well, the fact that those interfaces are different, the searching, the history list, the naming architecture are different, that's not at all necessary. We can unify that into one approach for information browsing. Another major focus for software has got to be total cost of ownership. Here, the idea of having software updates automatically migrate throughout the network is very, very important. You don't want to have people actually visit an individual computer. An extreme form of this is where you mirror all of the activity, all the state on the PC up on the server. And that's what we call zero administration windows. It's something that we announced just a few weeks ago and we'll have out next year. It's a very important initiative. Multimedia advances for movie clips, video conferencing are also demanding more richness in the PC operating system. One of the challenges I think we have for 1997 is to prove that the scalability of Windows NT is as great as any other system. We're working with Digital on a system with more than 1 terabyte of storage. We're working on putting together a system that will do more than 1 billion transactions a day. That's greater than any organization requires right now. The scalability will come through clustering technology, software technology, hierarchical storage management, all of it that's on its way. And so by the end of next year, I don't think anybody will say there are applications that Windows NT cannot address. If we look further into the future, into this next decade, it's clear that in order to really achieve the full potential of internet communications, we have to have a different way of interacting with the machine. We can't just have these long URLs that you try and remember and that are becoming more and more ambiguous. And so here we go back to the very ambitious work of the last 20 years, which is teaching computers to listen, that is recognize speech, teaching them to talk, synthesize speech, teaching them to use the video camera that they have more and more that's very inexpensive, to do even simple things like see, is there somebody using this machine? What kind of gestures are they making? You can even get to the point where we take return receipt mail to a new level where you can say, well, what was the reaction of the person when they read that mail that I sent them? And another frontier is teaching machines to learn. Today, if you work with a machine over a period of years, it's exactly the same. It doesn't mold itself to your interests and your activities the same way a human assistant would. And although we've talked about this in terms of agent technology for a long time, really there's been very little progress. In fact, in each one of these areas, there have been demonstrations over the last couple decades. And so people, in a sense, have become a little bit cynical about, will this ever happen at a quality level that makes it a primary way that you want to interface with the system? Well, a significant part of our several billion R&D budget is focused on refining those technologies and allowing it to become a standard part of the way you interact with the PC and therefore electronic information. This Zero Administration Windows initiative, I wanted to make clear what that is because I think it's a pretty important step that we're taking. It does not require you to buy new hardware. It does not require you to rewrite any applications. It's today's applications, today's hardware. There are some special flavors of hardware that are sealed case machines that we call NetPC, where you don't have to ever go out and change the hardware during a 3-year period. But that's a complementary initiative that's hardware focused. Zero Administration Windows is purely a software thing where we run on the NT server something that keeps track of all the local state on the machines. By doing this, it means that if a machine ever has a problem, you just put in a new machine and automatically you're up and running. We still use the local disk to provide great performance, but we turn the local disk into simply a very, very large cache for all the things you do on a regular basis. And so because all the state is up there on the server, the administrator can easily track the differences between two PCs, make PCs absolutely identical to each other, and it's really aimed at central administration and simplification of what's gone on in terms of putting software out on machines. Now you might say, well, doesn't this mean that server storage will be overloaded? Well, in fact, a lot of what's down on client PCs today is duplicated. The applications that they have are the same, even many of the documents that they have. And so as we replicate from the server down, we're very careful to share anything that's similar. And so, for example, in the case of Microsoft, putting all the PC state up on the servers required less than a 20% increase in the server storage that we already had there. And I think we're a pretty extreme case in terms of the multimedia content that people create on the client PCs. The biggest payback for the internet, everyone is very clear on this, it's intranet. That is simply taking the PCs and the networks you have today and moving from sharing the information by giving out server names and hierarchical file names, instead moving to publishing a URL that you can simply mail out to people that addresses typical scenarios. From an engineer's point of view, the difference here is rather minor. The difference is that instead of navigating through directories to get down to a data file like a spreadsheet, you navigate through pages to get there. But from the user's point of view, it is a fairly dramatic change in that each one of those pages is completely self-describing. So it says, when was the structure of the information changed? It says who to send mail to if you're at all concerned. And redoing the structure of those, making it easier and easier for people to use, is as simple as using one of the productivity tools like Word or Front Page that create HTML pages. So we see huge payback to companies that think through carefully what are their typical scenarios and what kind of pages should they make available there. So this is navigation with the browser, moving down into files where you can actually not only read the information but edit it and annotate it as well because you're using Office file types. But it's all very seamless. As you navigate the links, you don't have to think about what kind of document type you're working with. Now, one of the great examples of this is a company taking sales information or spending information that used to be in printed reports and therefore was impossible to really make much out of. The reports were always too detailed or too summarized, and they couldn't correlate between different regions or different time periods in the kind of flexible way that a knowledge worker should be allowed to. And so there's a huge move afoot to move towards building data warehouses and exposing those through the intranet. And actually, to show off some of the work we're doing here in this field, particularly how it's tied into digital equipment, I've asked John Gelson, who's one of our product managers for SQL Server, to come up and talk to us a little bit about the latest developments with NT and data warehousing.
Good morning, Bill.
Hi.
Well, what I'm going to do today is talk to you a little bit about data warehousing and how Microsoft and digital are working together, and to give you a little preview of what we'll be showing next week at Comdex. So what I want to do is very briefly talk a little bit about data warehousing, what it is, what you need for it, and how Microsoft and digital are working together. And then I'm going to show you a short demonstration of how companies can actually use this technology to implement a data mart. Now, what a data warehouse is it's essentially a type of decision support system that contains information that allows executives of your company to make strategic business decisions based on timely information. Now, what happens is data from several operational data stores that contains the day-to-day business activity of your company is actually moved and transformed into a centralized data warehouse. Now, today, a lot of companies, they're talking about data warehouses, but they're very interested in data marts. And a data mart is a highly focused line of business data warehouse targeted at providing fast and easy access of this critical business information to the users. And a data mart is a great example of where our customers can take advantage of the performance and price performance leadership of Microsoft SQL Server running on digital hardware. So I want to talk a little bit about what customers need to actually put a data warehouse into place. What you need is, first of all, you need access to the operational data. The operational data is then moved and transformed into the centralized data mart. Once the data is in the data mart, then we can actually access the information using customized tools that are designed to access this type of information. Now, Digital and Microsoft are actually working together on what's called the Digital Data Mart service. And what this service provides is it allows our customers access to the greatest software, hardware, and services to help our customers get their data marts operational as quickly as possible. Now, with this service, we can get your data mart operational in less than 6 weeks. So what I want to talk about now is actually show you some of the technology that we're including in this data mart service and really explain to you how this would work. Now, what the demonstration that we're going to be showing you here today is what we call our Arcadia Bay demonstration. Arcadia Bay is a fictitious company. It's a clothing manufacturer wholesaler that also has a few factory outlets located throughout the United States. Now, Arcadia Bay has put an internet server online because they want to be able to sell their products on the internet. And they want to be able to use the Digital Data Mart service to actually analyze that sales data and see how the internet server is affecting their revenue. So the demonstration I'm going to be showing you here today is running on this Digital Prioris server. And what we're going to show you today is how these tools and technologies actually work. Now, on this server, we have NT Server 4.0 running SQL Server 6.5 and Internet Information Server 2.0. We've put an order entry system and a data mart running on SQL Server 6.5, and we've actually used a simulator to put about a year's worth of data into the order entry system. Then what we've done is we've actually moved and transformed the data from the order entry system into the data mart. And that's what I'm going to show you here now, is how we actually did that transformation. Because it's very interesting. A lot of people think it's a very easy thing to do, but in fact, it's very important that this be done correctly to actually get the data into the data mart in the correct format. So the tool that we've used is called Informatica's PowerMart. And the tool that I'm showing up here on the screen is actually the designer. This is what the IS professional would use to actually set up the data movement and transformation process. So over here on the left-hand side, we have the tables from our order entry system. And what we're going to do is we're going to move the information from the order entry system into the table on the right, which is a table in our data mart. And the reason why we're doing this movement and transformation is because, like I said, we want to optimize the data in the data mart so we can do the queries that we need to get the information that we require. Now, the way Arcadia Bay has this set up is they've already got this implemented, and they have it set up so that every night at midnight, it will automatically do the data movement and transformation. So this is all set up. We've already moved the data over. So now that we've got the data moved over, we just need to access the data. Now, a typical user who would be accessing this data would be, for instance, the vice president of sales. We've just implemented this great internet server, and now we want to see how the internet server is actually affecting the sales. So a good way of doing that is actually using the intranet. And what I've brought up here now is the Arcadia Bay data warehousing homepage. And certain users that need access can get into this system and actually go through and drill down on reports that is contained in the data mart. Now, as soon as they bring up this first screen, bring up the home page, they instantly see a brief overview, an executive summary, if you will, of how the company's doing. So instantly, As soon as the executives come in the morning, they can bring up this page and instantly see how the company's doing. Now, Microsoft is also working on other technologies to make the information delivery process much easier. We're actually building an add-in for Excel 97 where you'll be able to store spreadsheets and data on a SQL Server database. And we're going to include a web component to that where you can actually use your intranet site to browse reports that are stored on your SQL Server database. So really using the technology and providing our customers with the tools and technology that they need to implement this type of data warehouse. So now, what I've just shown you is the intranet site, but that intranet site contained very high-level data. The vice president of sales, they're going to need a little bit more detailed information. So they're really going to want to drill down into the information and really see the data that's there. So now we're going to bring up business objects. And business objects is an OLAP query tool that allows us to do queries on our data mart and really see what's in the data there. So here we brought up a report that shows revenue by order type over time, and the time has been broken down into months of the year. Now on the back, you can see the World Wide Web orders, and we implemented the World Wide Web server in January, and you can see that the sales over the web have steadily grown, while the sales on the mail order system have declined. So this would really show the vice president of sales that yes, this internet server really is making a big difference in our company's revenue. So let's see how advertisements or promotions are also affecting our sales. So we'll switch over to another report, and we'll take a look at sales by advertisement type by order type. So we can see how our advertising is actually working for us. So we can sit here and look at this report and see the numbers and see how it's affecting, but I like to see graphics. And this really shows that by placing ads on the web with an associated sale is really increasing the revenue of our company. So here we can really see the business value of using a data mart using the Microsoft and digital technology. And this is just one part of it. This is just the beginning. Microsoft, we understand what our customer needs are, and we're really working to make it easier to implement systems like this. One of the initiatives that we have is the Active Data Warehousing Framework Initiative. And with this, Microsoft is going to define a common framework and architecture and interfaces so that we can provide this to our third-party software vendors. With this, they will be able to develop their products so that their products work much more closely integrated and also work very well with SQL Server. So this will reduce the cost of ownership for our customers and make it very easy for them to develop and implement data warehouses.
Great. Well, I think a lot of people will be able to take advantage of that. Thanks a lot, John.
Thank you.
Well, the pace of change in today's environment is quite rapid. Everyone in the industry is responding to this internet explosion and drawing on the strengths that they've had over the years. In our case, it's transforming the design of Windows to embrace internet standards, transforming the design of our tools, including adding new tools like Front Page and J++, our Java compiler, and transforming the Office product, the productivity tools, so they are optimized for the intranet type environment. I really think that the pace is going to continue, if anything, to be as rapid as it's been in terms of companies moving across and setting up the internet as a new way of doing business. The financial sector will probably be the first where we see the impact. Things like electronic bill paying, online banking, certainly retailing, more and more transactions and now ways of using credit cards. But just in a period of years, the government should be a showcase user here. There's a lot of new creativity to turn this into a educational and entertainment medium. And so I think there's never been a better time for people like yourselves with the skills you have to add value to make your companies more competitive. And certainly Microsoft and Digital are looking forward to working with you on that. Thank you.
Bob, could you come up on stage?
still seeing the light. You know they're out there somewhere.
Sure. While we're setting up for, we're going to be setting up now for taking a few questions. I'd like to go over what our standard rules are for the questions. Put them down here someplace. It's a tome about this thick, as you mind if I go through that. In any case, we are going to be bringing up, we have 4 microphones spread throughout the room, and if I can have spots on those now so we can see where they are. I can't see them yet. There they go. Now they're starting to light up.
Excellent.
We're going to try to go through the mics in some kind of a regular pattern, so that way it'll make it easier for the cameras to do the tracking. And when you come up to the microphone, please state your name and your company's name. You may ask one concise question. Given the limited time, please make your questions nice and to the point to allow our speakers to respond to those questions as much as they can. And then if you have another question, you'll have to go back in the queue because we're going to move along. And also, I have a few questions. We had opened up the questions on the internet and had received a couple questions online, so I may intermix a few questions as we're going. So we're almost ready for the chairs. We're still waiting to get our chairs set.
Oh, well. Amazingly, CEO can talk standing up.
That's
so
true too. That's true
amazing.
too. So why don't we go ahead then?
Amazing capability.
I'm going to start over here in the far microphone. Are you, gentlemen, are you ready? Yes.
Joe, am I the far?
You're the one.
Okay. Hi, I'm Marge Knox from the University of Texas at Austin, and I certainly appreciate the opportunity to hear from Mr. Gates and Bob Palmer this morning. As always, Bob, thank you for visiting with us.
Marge.
Mr. Gates's last slide showed education as one of the key areas where implications of the internet will happen. I'd like to go further and suggest that digital and its key partners such as Microsoft make education a key market segment to target. Much as you talked about the Lockheed Martin mail exchange emphasis, I think there are business opportunities with education where you can actually make money. Digital libraries, distance education, learning and training, outsourcing of modem pools with the attendant help desk, internet servers, and client connectivity. I think we also need to, if we were a key market segment, the programs that the partners would be providing us would be more constant. And we wouldn't have things like the Alta Vista products being removed with only 2 days' notice. So, my plea to you is to consider us a key market segment, one of the handful of industries that you and your strategic partners target so that you have better business opportunities and we have more confidence with the plans.
Marge, was there a question?
Bob, it's really a request that we be treated as a key market segment. How do you decide who your key market segments are? You talked about your growth platforms and your 9 areas, but the industries that you target, I want to be one of those key industries.
Well, clearly education is important to all of us, both from a social perspective as well as a company perspective. And you have some very enlightened states, in my view, such as Texas, where you're from, and California, where we are today, where the state legislatures have authorized and, in fact, insisting on wiring the schools and bringing our young people and all of our communities up to a common level of access and capability. And as the citizens, I think we all have a tremendous vested interest in seeing that be successful. Digital has a long history, as you know, of supporting education initiatives, and I think that the salient point you mentioned is, can we make some money? And so the objective is, how do we work? Certainly there'll be large discounts on lots of services, but how do we work together to implement this wired classroom of the future in a way that does provide some financial incentive for the customers? Digital is quite interested in being part of that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just speaking briefly for Microsoft, it's the only area where we have a special sales group and a special way that we work with customers. And certainly the expansion of educational software sales has been quite dramatic, particularly with internet applications.
Thank you. Up front?
Yes, sir. I'm Jim Waddell. I'm with Kenai Peninsula Borough in Alaska. Recently, Digital released a statement on futures of operating systems and briefly mentioned about halfway through the world's finest operating system, VMS.
I agree with you. Now the Windows NT is catching up.
As a shop that runs VMS and also Windows NT, what will I be installing in a year or 2 years' time? Will I be installing VMS, NT, or some sort of a kludge between them? Can you give us a feel for where we're going to be going with that?
Well, I hope that I'd made it clear in my remarks that Digital will continue to invest in and expand and add features to, such as full 64-bit environment for OpenVMS. We take care of our customers first. That's our first priority to stay in business. We've got a very large install base of VMS, and we're quite proud, frankly, of the technical attributes that it has, as you remarked. On the other hand, it's very clear that Windows NT is going to be a very important operating system at the enterprise level. It is today in many enterprises, and that will only continue. And our strategic alliances ensures that the investments you've made in OpenVMS will be protected, and yet you'll still have access to the plethora of applications that are written for the Windows environment. And so what you choose to implement is largely up to you. Our objective is to provide complete range of choice of scalable platforms and all of the software and services so that you can implement what's the most efficient for your business requirement.
Thank you. I'd like to interject one quick question from the internet side. This question was from Philip Hawk, who is from the New Century Computer Solutions Incorporated. And his question is fundamentally to both of you, and that is, we have heard of the Microsoft Digital Alliance for more than a year now, but you've seen little or no tangible evidence in terms of your product lines themselves and the products released. And so his question is when will he be seeing those things? And
Boy, I think if you look at the industry as a whole, there are a lot of alliances where you could say that, where they don't end up amounting to much. But if you just hear, you take what are we doing in mail together to allow all-in-one to coexist with Exchange, to make it easy for people who want to put up Exchange. There's incredible progress. What are we doing to benchmark Alpha systems and constantly increase the performance of NT on the Alpha systems? I mean, that's been an incredible success story. How are we engaging customers directly to talk about how Digital as a solution provider can take our building blocks and other building blocks and do great things? So I think this one has some real substance to it, and it's got concrete examples to go with that. Now we're getting smarter every day. If there are specific things that you think we should be doing together that we're not, we'd love to take it on.
So I certainly agree with Bill, and the tangible evidence of success are wins like Lockheed Martin, 120,000 seats, or the Mercantile Exchange that I talked about, which was an environment that consisted of OpenVMS for disaster tolerance, Windows NT for all of its many advantages, and even some Unix in there. So I mean, fundamentally, we're working together all the time to bring more and more functionality to the environment, and we're going to be successful.
thank you. I'll be able to take two more questions if they're very concise. One over here.
My name is Leonard Johnson. I'm the chairman of Pinnacle Entertainment Group. Let me preempt this question by saying, first of all, that we have a global small business network of 120,000 entrepreneurs or small businesses in 150 different countries. My question for you gentlemen is, as an industry, what will you guys be doing as leaders and visionaries to merge the underdeveloped countries and the emerging markets so that we can have more optimized out of this internet, so we don't basically run in the same circle with the PC and watching it at slow growth? What can we do as an industry collectively to see that this momentum continues and moves forward so that the novelty doesn't wear off in the rest of the world and as well as this country in the next few years to come?
Well, both Digital and Microsoft are very global companies, and we can afford to take a long-term view in investing in developing markets. Certainly, it's wonderful to say that when a student gets access to the internet, which is a challenge, but once they're there, they have the world's best library available to them. The same thing that a student in the most privileged situation has. They're connected up together. In fact, they can find each other and collaborate and work on problems together. So I think the first thing about the internet for any country is to make sure that it's broadly used in the educational facilities and that there's some kind of public access, which in many countries will mean libraries stepping in the same way they did for books. We do a lot in terms of localizing the software and being out there in those countries. The connectivity problem is not one that we can solve. You've got to have the right sort of communications rules in these countries, and I think it'll become a big political issue that political leaders will be measured according to how interested they are in making their country a great place for the internet. Oh, sorry.
Let me move on. I have very short. Last question.
Stephen T. Hoare, New York University. Thank you, gentlemen, by the way, for coming here. This is extraordinarily valuable. We all, I think, really appreciate it. But I will make my question.
Thank you.
I will try and make my question very brief and appropriate to just the two of you. We are moving towards a network computing environment at the university. I'm looking towards 65,000, 100,000 end users. One of the things we need to do is to be able to serve applications down from our NT server platforms to the various client desktops. In the sense that they are running, Intel-based network computers, the mechanism to do that is pretty straightforward. But in fact, a lot of them will be running other sorts of things, accessing and running the application on the server, but accessing the screen remotely. Unfortunately, we want to use alpha servers, but the end user NT applications, even the Microsoft ones, which in theory should just be simple recompiles, since NT on alpha and NT on Intel should be software interface compatible, those applications aren't there either from Microsoft or from Digital. Is there any hope of getting those end user applications, not the server applications?
But there's a couple things there. First is in terms of software updating to a variety of clients. The architecture where Windows NT can provide automatic software updates is an open architecture. And in fact, I'm sure there will be, as part of the active platform running on these other machines, people who come in and do the client side to make sure that they receive those software updates. It already exists in terms of the browser that runs there, but not for general applications. We are working on alpha-based applications. Digital has made great progress in terms of their on-the-fly compilation approach that lets you run the Intel binary. So you don't get the full, as much of the performance as you might like, but it works amazingly well. And so the very high visibility applications will get native compiled, but as you seek a breadth of applications there, I think the automatic technology will be the primary solution.
Okay, thank you all very much. I'd like to thank both Bill and Bob for presenting for us today. And I also understand that Bob has a presentation to make.
Okay, before everybody runs away here, Bill, as a token of our appreciation, Digital and the digital users community decided to present you with something a little unique. In Bill's book, he did talk about, and he also talked about it today, his excitement in first time he was programming a computer using a bureau service provided at the high school, and it was a PDP-10, as you'll recall. We have a very astute audience here that figures out, what's coming. We thought one thing we could present Bill with was his own personal PDP-10. Now, this PDP-10 is designed for use in Bill's new house, and of course, Digital hadn't built a PDP-10 in quite a long time, but we understand that the house is quite large. But we're pretty sure he hadn't made room for the original PDP-10s from the 1970s. So we did the next best thing. We built you a PDP-10 for the 1990s. Several engineers inside Digital collaborated on the design with the assistance of an external software partner, and we're going to demonstrate this thing. What they did was write there you go. One of the partners wrote a PDP-10 emulator for Alpha. So we've got the emulator in here with an Alpha system running TOPS 10, and as you can see, we've got a PDP-10 front panel, so the system has the genuine look and feel, as they say, of a PDP-10. And we're going to ask Bill to step over and log on to his personal PDP-10 for the first time.
Looks good. I like the switches. I've missed those switches.
I'm not sure they're connected to anything, but they light up and whatever. So I believe we've got about a 275 megahertz Alpha system in there running the emulation software, and of course the results are rather dramatic if we can get her going here.
I have to remember my project programmer number. No, I don't think it's ready. I think we're still. It worked better this time.
Something is happening. Someone in the audience says we should call it a feature. Well, this is that part of the presentation that we didn't dry run, as you can see.
It's okay.
We promise that we will get it working, and some way or another, Bill, we'll get it to your house. But in any event,
all right.
We appreciate the opportunity to have you here. It's a great pleasure.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot.
These things happen. There's that look. Oh, there's your performance, by the way.
Oh, there we go.
Joe, thank you so much.
Bill, thank you very much.
And that concludes our session for this morning. We thank you all very much, and we hope you enjoy your time here in Anaheim as we celebrate our 35th anniversary. Good morning.